2014 has been called the year of wearable technology, as many people are now donning connected glasses, wristbands and watches. But as they become more popular, are they also bringing a security risk right into the workplace? Well, for more on this now, I'm joined by Dean Frye from Sourcefire in the Sky News Business Centre. Dean, welcome to the program this morning.
Good morning, Nigel.
Now, this is a trend that I'm seeing really take off at CES this year when I attended a huge section on wearable technology, Google glasses, wristbands, all seems to be happening in this space. Just give our audience a sense of how big and how quickly this trend is growing.
Well, we think that by 2016 this will be a $10+ billion market. That's what Gartner is telling us. 2013 was really the year of broad adoption of these devices, particularly in the fitness arena. And we also saw a lot of anticipation and excitement around the Google Glass release for this year.
Now, you're here to talk about security implications, and this topic really came up in terms of bring your own device. People were bringing their mobile phones and their tablets into the workplace. Have organisations firstly dealt with those devices before we go on to the new ones? Are you confident now that many enterprises have understood and dealt with the implications of BYOD just on those simple devices?
I think the BYOD challenge is still unfolding. Australian businesses found that they simply couldn't prohibit or ban employees bringing devices into the workplace, and they also had to put regulation around the way these devices were used for business purposes. And I think going forward, businesses should look to generalise the policies and controls that they have over mobile devices so that it applies to new technologies as they enter the workplace.
Tell us then how this new threat, if you like, of wearable devices compares to the existing BYOD trend of tablets, for example.
As with all consumer devices, they're designed and engineered around what the market wants. Things like battery life, screen size, these are the things that consumers are interested in. They don't often in a phone store, for instance, ask about the security controls on a device. So consumers are getting basically what they ask for. In a business situation, though, there's the potential for a lot of data capture. We're talking video, audio, and businesses need to avoid unnecessarily capturing data that may bring them into the realm of falling foul of some of the privacy principles.
So we're playing some footage now of Google Glass, and this to me must be a massive security threat for a number of companies if their employees are now walking around with a device that can potentially capture information. Would they be right in potentially moving, therefore, to ban these devices in the workplace?
I think there are certainly some applications that can potentially run on particularly Google Glass that need some very serious consideration, particularly when you talk about things such as facial recognition. This is a very powerful combination of technology, and I think you need to be very, very careful in that situation.
How can organisations really protect themselves, though, Dean, in this age? I mean, you've moved from paper documents, people taking those out of the workplace, to then the USB stick, and now we're talking Google Glass or other kinds of miniature cameras where employees can very easily capture confidential information. Is it fair to say that the enterprise really has very little chance of protecting confidential data?
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I think that the reforms with respect to privacy in the Australian landscape in the last 2 years have been significant, and we've ended up with a very pragmatic and sensible set of principles that any CEO can understand. So I don't necessarily take the defeatist attitude that it's not going to be possible to prevent data leakage, but certainly we need to be mindful of the scope of new technology and its creep into the workplace.
What about hacking, though? Because we've talked about employees bringing devices into the workplace and maybe inadvertently capturing data, but there is the opportunity here for more malicious intent to take place.
Yes, that's of course the case, and again these devices are relatively lightweight from a computing point of view. We have, for instance, the Dendroid threat from the last couple of days that attacks that's relevant to the Android platform. Android is one of the most compromised mobile platforms on the planet, and we'll continue to see these threats evolve as the miscreants become more organised, more industrialised and more commercialised.
Where do you see then I suppose the point where organisations should start to draw the line in terms of bringing these in? Is it more a policy approach they should be using?
Certainly you can't control things unless the policies, frameworks are set forward first. There are some fantastic business applications for wearable computing. You could imagine, for instance, a factory worker being able to recall complex technical information for equipment without having to carry around ring binders of data. I mean, things like that. The real estate industry, I'm sure, will love it. But the technology has to be used in a business-relevant way.
Lastly, Dean, where do you see this trend going? Because I have seen some talk that we've gone from BYOD, the next stage is wearable devices, and in the future we'll be talking about people with potentially biometric or even implants inside them, devices that are implanted in them at some particular point in time. Now, that's very sci-fi, but if things do get to that kind of level, again, how do organisations cope? How do enterprises cope with that?
Well, I think it's the consumer's imagination that's pushing the development and the trends for these devices. And, you know, we need to remember that we work in a human environment, and technology can also dehumanise the workplace. So I think we're going to see interesting trends. I think we're going to see more integration of technology into our lives, and the future really will tell how that all plays out.
All right, Dean Frye from Sourcefire, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Nigel.